everyone, it's Frankie-Lou. I'm coming to you today from the kitchen of the Grow Together homestead where I am playing in the dirt. All right, so that means I'm in my happy place because I'm definitely happy when I've got my hands full of soil. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I've noticed tons and tons and tons of questions, and I get asked almost daily on my channel, what is my favorite soil to use for winter sowing? Because a lot of people are trying winter sowing for the first time, and there's so many choices, and they want to know what's the best type of soil to use for putting out your little seeds in your milk jugs in particular. So I thought I'd address that today. Normally, when you plant seeds inside, you probably would start with a seed starting mix. And then you would, once the seedlings reaches its first few true leaves, then you would plant up and put it in something that was a little richer and a little denser, and you would continue to plant up until it was time to put in the garden. Now the thing is, with the beauty of winter sowing is you can skip all that, okay? You're just putting some seeds in there, and then in a few months' time you're going to be putting it in your garden. What you need to have is a soil that's richer than what you would normally have for your seed starting mix, because it has to be able to sustain that seedling for several months while it's still in this milk jug, okay? So you might find that if you do put just a seed starting mix in here, it's not going to sustain that seedling. It's not going to provide it the right kinds of nutrients that it's going to need to make it to be a good strong seedling that you're going to plant into your garden, right? So I like to use a mix that is light enough to allow for good germination, but also rich enough to maintain that seedling. Does that make sense? Some folks want to use indoor planting mixes. I've seen a lot of people suggesting that because they are lighter, but I just find that hasn't worked for me. With my experience in doing this, I have played with a lot of different things, and I really, really like a potting mix that's intended for outdoor herbs and vegetables. That's what I like to use the most. So then it's got a nice mix that's dense, has some nutrition in it, has and will keep that plant healthy for me. Now, so then the question is, well, how do you ensure that it's not going to become waterlogged? Well, what I do is I poke the heck out of the bottom of these jugs. If you're finding that your milk jugs are getting too waterlogged with a garden mix, like one for an outdoor garden mix, then what you're probably dealing with is not enough drainage allowed for your jugs. You're either placing them somewhere where there may be those drainage holes. Like if you're placing them in a tray, that's not going to work. You need to place them on the ground so they will be able to drain. I poke 12 holes in the bottom, 3 in each quadrant here, and then I also poke 12 holes right along the sides, like basically a half a centimeter up, so that there's a good amount of drainage. That's 24 holes. It does take a little extra time to do that, but boy, am I glad that I do that, because I very rarely have a waterlogged jug. The only time that's ever occurred is when I accidentally left it in the duck pond for too long and it was floating and then it sunk to the bottom. Yeah, that's going to cause waterlogging. But if you have this placed directly where it should be on the ground and it's got enough drainage holes, you're not going to find that using a good outdoor garden mix with some nutrition in it is going to cause a waterlogging issue, okay? When you're planting your milk jugs, make sure that you do use a nice moist soil. Like I basically moisten this until it'll hold its shape a bit, right? Like you don't want to have it in there and have it be dry, because while the whole point of winter sowing is to allow for some of that snow precipitation to melt into your jugs and water, you got to start with well moistened soil to begin with as well. Okay, so now this is a part of the video that's going to sound like a commercial, but I swear it's not, because I have played with lots of different brands over the years, and I'm just going to tell you what my favorite brand is, because that's probably what most folks want to know. And this is the particular brand I use, ProMix. Okay, so in particular, this is the ProMix brand, and this is their herb and vegetable garden mix, the organic. The reason I like it is because it does contain organic fertilizer, okay? And but it's not a super rich one. They actually say here on the bag that you basically, it's good for 3 months. Well, that's pretty much perfect, right? Because once these seedlings start, they're going to be ready to go into the ground in less than 3 months. Okay, so that's a good one, and that's a good amount of fertilizer for what I'm looking for. And I find that it has a great texture, both for starting the seeds and maintaining those seedlings until they're ready to go into the ground. I use ProMix almost exclusively now, and one of the main reasons why is because they inoculate ProMix with beneficial fungi, okay? They have it listed as Glomus interradices, which I'm sure I'm saying wrong. But what that does is when you inoculate soil with that fungi creates a symbiotic relationship with the plants as they're growing, okay? And it basically makes it much easier for that young seedling to uptake nutrients. The nutrient in particular that this fungi is in particular associated with helping with the uptake is phosphorus, okay? So when you look at fertilizers, you see NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. So the P stands for phosphorus, and phosphorus is really good at promoting root growth. And I can definitely attest to this because before I decided to use ProMix as much as I did a couple experiments. Because that's what I do. I planted some seeds, some bean seeds in clear cups so that I could witness the root growth, and I used various soils. And my goodness, the ProMix came out a winner in 3 repetitions, okay? So that for me was, I could just see how much more those roots were growing. And also it helps with sturdy stems and basically new growth in particular. You really want to have good phosphorus uptake. So this helps. All right. I know that some people think fungi is gross, but fungi is super important. Like, our planet would not be the way it is if it wasn't for fungi. We'd be dealing with a whole lot of stuff we wouldn't want to deal with. So this is good fungi that's in this stuff, all right? It's actually naturally occurring in soils anyways. This is a fungus that normally does exist in soils. It's just that while this has been created, they actually inoculate it to ensure that there's lots of that in there. Okay, I hope that was helpful. It is a question I get asked a lot, so thank you for asking the questions because I hope I'm creating stuff that's helpful for you, particularly when it comes to winter sowing, because I know that's new for a lot of you. So keep those questions coming. If you have questions about this video in particular, please do make sure that you put it in the comments for me and I'll get back to you. And as always, I hope you take this chance to grow together today. Have a good one.